Why feeling certain doesn't mean you're right. One of the most common mistakes of the mind is confusing intensity with truth. If something feels strong, it feels real. If it feels urgent, it feels important. If it feels obvious, it feels correct. But feeling certain does not mean you are right. Certainty is not evidence. It is a sensation, a psychological state created by coherence, emotion, and familiarity. When a thought aligns with how you feel, it gains authority. You stop questioning it. You don't ask, is this accurate? You assume it feels right. And because it feels right, you act. This is how mistakes become convincing. The mind does not ask for proof when emotion is involved. It looks for consistency. If the story matches the feeling, that is enough. Anger looks for justification. Fear looks for confirmation. Suspicion looks for meaning. And when they find it, certainty appears. Not quietly, forcefully. It narrows perception. Alternatives disappear. Nuance fades. Doubt feels dangerous. You stop seeing complexity. You see clarity. But clarity is not always truth. Often it is simplification. Simplification feels relieving. It removes friction. It removes doubt. It removes effort. Reality is complex. It contains multiple possibilities at the same time. Certainty collapses that complexity into a single line. One explanation, one meaning, one conclusion. And that collapse feels powerful because it gives the mind something solid to stand on. Ambiguity disappears. Tension drops. Decision feels easy. But notice the trade-off. When complexity is reduced too quickly, accuracy is sacrificed. You gain confidence but lose precision. You feel sure, but you see less. This is why certainty spreads so easily. It is contagious. Strong certainty invites agreement, not examination. It creates alignment, not understanding. People gather around certainty because it feels safe. Uncertainty requires patience. Certainty demands allegiance, and the mind prefers allegiance, especially when emotions are involved. Once certainty forms, it begins to protect itself. It resists correction. It resents challenge. It interprets disagreement as threat. Not because the idea is correct, but because the feeling behind it has become part of identity. This is when certainty stops being a conclusion and becomes a position, and positions are defended, not examined. At that point, being right matters more than being accurate, and accuracy quietly disappears. The mind simplifies reality to regain stability. Certainty is that simplification. It reduces complexity into something manageable, something you can hold, something you can defend. This is why certainty feels empowering. It gives direction, it gives confidence, it gives a sense of control. But that control is psychological, not factual. Certainty feels like understanding, but it often arrives before understanding has occurred. This is the critical mistake. The order is reversed. Instead of observe to question, to understand, to conclude, the mind does. Feel to conclude, to defend, to justify. Once a conclusion is formed, perception reorganizes around it. You begin to notice only what confirms your certainty. Contradictions feel irritating. Alternative explanations feel unnecessary. Doubt feels like weakness. And because certainty feels stable, you protect it. You identify with it. I know what this is. I know what this means. I know who is right. But what you often know is how it feels, not what is actually happening. This is why people argue without listening, why conflicts escalate instead of resolving, why misunderstandings persist even when evidence is available. Certainty closes the system, it stops inquiry, and when inquiry stops, learning stops. This applies not only to opinions, but to self-perception. I know who I am. I know my limits. I know how I always react. These statements feel solid. They feel mature. They feel realistic. But they are often conclusions drawn from repeated feelings, not careful observation. The stronger the feeling, the more convincing the story. This is why the most confident beliefs are often the least examined. This does not mean you should doubt everything. It means you should notice when certainty arrives first, before understanding, before verification, before reflection. That sequence matters, because when certainty leads, errors follow confidently. This is not a moral failure. It is a cognitive one, a structural bias of the mind. And the first step is not correcting it. It is recognizing when feeling replaces evidence. That recognition reopens perception, and perception is where accuracy begins. This is inner cognition,